he told me the guy needed to be shot and that he's okay with it. And if he's okay with it, why is he sending the FBI to my work? Why is he going to the police if he's okay with it? He's obviously not okay with it. He obviously shot the guy on purpose, which he's admitted several times.
Strange Maine presents Episode 6, The Saga of Borders versus Officer Baldhead.
Maine, it'll make a bitch do strange things.
Hey Matt, this is Officer Baldhead. You remember me?
If I ever get a hold of you, I'm gonna fucking cut your nuts out and stick them in your fucking ass while I'm screwing your mother.
What's the deal with Officer Baldhead?
So, I used to be friends with this dude. I was in high school. I was friends with Robert Moore. I was living in out in Bido in like 2014, 2015 with some crackheads. They were all smoking crack, doing heroin, getting fucked up. I wasn't doing any drugs at all. I was the one sober motherfucker up in there. Just smoking weed. I wasn't sober. I was smoking weed, drinking, whatever. I wasn't doing the hard shit. But anyway, I ended up moving in with Rob in like it was like February 2015. And he says, I go into his apartment one day. He says, he gets out of work and he's like, hey man. He's like, hey, you want a beer, bro? I'm like, yeah, sure. He cracks open. He got this Bandit Horde Viridian. It's the brand. This local Maine beer, Bandit Horn. Is it Viridian flavor? He's like, here. He doesn't even crack it open. He just hands it to me. So I take the beer. I take the cap off, but I don't even need to twist it off. It just lifts right off. I'm like, okay. There's like some weird shit on the bottom of the cap. I'm like, all right. I thought it was kind of strange, but I said, fuck it anyway. Tipped it back. Drank it. Tasted like shit. Tasted like dog shit. And I was like, what the fuck is this? I thought it was some unfiltered IPA or something. I don't know what the fuck is going on. And I get about 3/4 of the way down, swirl my glass, look at it, and it's like some floating dark gray powder type shit floating around in my beer. I'm like, what the fuck is that? And I look at Rob, I'm like, what the fuck is this? And he holds up this bag of little gray capsules. They're like little powder gray capsules inside the bag. And I'm like, he doesn't even say what it is. It said like gun oil on the fucking tag or something. I don't even know what the fuck it was or what was in those capsules. And he doesn't say a word. He just looks at me and flashes the bag. And I'm just like, okay, I don't know what to do now. What the fuck? And then we just kept on chilling. And then went into the room, hopped on the couch, watched a movie, whatever the fuck was going on. It was some bullshit. He just poisoned me, but I didn't know what to do about it. I didn't know what was in the capsules, if it was a prank, if it was a drug, if it was a medicine, if it was some fucked up chemical that would just hurt you. I don't know. Some speculation has come into light that it could have been a chemical or material called powdered metal, which called thallium. So, I don't know if it was that or if it wasn't that, if it was something else. It could have been dangerous. It probably was dangerous. I don't even know. Maybe I didn't have the right reaction at the time because I was so shocked and just bewildered by whatever it was.
It'll make a bitch do strange things.
So Rob Moore poisoned you. Rob Moore, the son.
Hello. Because I've seen so many videos of people posting about pomades online, and I've had a difficult time trying to figure out what works for my hair because it's so.
That was his son. And his dad, his pig father, is some retired cop. He's some retired cop or something. I don't know. Also, after that, a few weeks after that the poisoning happened, he asked me to borrow some money. Rob asked me to borrow some money. He's like, hey man, he's like, I need to pick up weed from Tom. I sold all this weed and then spent the money, and now I don't have the money to pay him. That's probably what it was. He's like, hey man, I need to pick up weed off Tom. Can you loan me $300? I just got my tax return. So I was like, yeah, all right. We roll up, hop in his car, we roll up to the ATM at the bank, withdraw the money. I give it to him. A week or two goes by. I'm like, hey man, you got that $300? He's like, what? What are you talking about? What 300? He act like it never happened, as if it never even happened at all. Just straight up stole 300, swindled it, picked up weed with it, and then just acted like it never happened. I never even got any weed out of it. I never even got hooked up with anything. I never got shit. He just ripped me off for $300 after he poisoned me a few weeks later. That scumbag trash bullshit is what that is.
Yep. Rob Moore.
And his dad, Officer Bob Moore, is a fucking pedophile.
Yeah, he was our dare, or no, he was just
He was a dare officer,
yeah,
but his son did a shit ton of drugs.
First experiences with Officer Moore go back to typing class, whatever grade that was, 5th or 6th grade. Officer Moore came in, he told us all about his family and how all of his parents and everyone that he grew up with in his family were all criminals and drug dealers and killers and the worst of the worst. So he said that's why he chose to become a police officer.
And his dad, after I moved out of living with him and his girlfriend, his father started stalking me. They started emailing me, texting me, calling me, getting all these weird messages. Him and his dad were both stalking me. Father-son stalking.
His dad's a former cop.
Yeah. And I received an email claiming that he was a dangerous child molester.
Officer Moore.
Officer Bob Moore, dangerous child molester, walking around in your neighborhood. So, who did Officer Moore molest?
A couple girls, I'm not going to give names, from our grade. They would always be seen going into his dare office after typing class. That one time in the typing class, he was clearly flirting with the girls, and this was 6th grade. So, I mean, it's pretty known about Officer Moore. That was back in middle school, and he pretty much haunted the whole Scarborough Middle School by being a pervert. He targeted girls that were pretty much slutty. It was obvious. He targeted the girls in our grade that wore thongs and made their thongs visible, and the girls that tried to fuck other boys in the hallways. Those were the girls that Officer Moore was always going after and being seen with after hours.
So if you taught kids, classes not to use drugs, and someone close to you used drugs, that could make you angry. It could cause emotional distress. And that could cause you to attack someone's family member because you're angry about their drug use. So you sexually assaulted someone's family member because you were mad about their drug use.
That would make a lot of sense because Officer Moore was angry about his own family's drug use.
But I just don't understand how being angry about somebody else's drug use that's not in your family could bother you to the point where you would want to sexually assault their family member. Because you think it's justified because the fact that they're a drug user. Then you should just do it too. Then you won't be mad about them doing it. But if you're going to get salty and get angry and upset, it's going to be irritable and it's going to bother you that they're putting a chemical in their body that you don't think they should be using, so you get angry about it. But instead of taking your anger out on the person that's ingesting the chemical, you go find their family member and sexually assault them. It's just not right. It's just not right. Just someone ingesting a substance into their body doesn't justify you sexually assaulting their family member. It's not right.
Just because you're angry or upset about the fact that someone ingested a substance that you don't think they should be ingesting doesn't give you the right to sexually assault their family member. It's still not right. It's not justified.
Your aunt, your cousin, or someone, your ex-girlfriend, they're going to go rape them and sexually assault them because I'm angry about the fact that I think you're a drug addict. You see what I'm saying? That's not right. That don't sound right. It's not justified. It's not morally right. So what? If they're ingesting drugs and substances and chemicals that you don't agree with, then just avoid them or just not bother with them. They're not making you ingest them. You don't have to ingest them. You have the freedom of will, freedom of choice to say no and say that you're not going to ingest them. And if you're not ingesting them, and they are, then what are you mad about? You should only be mad at yourself for ingesting them. And if you're not, then there's no problem. There's no way you can't justify sexual assault. Even if someone sexually assaults you or rapes you, if you go do it back to them or their family, that makes you equally as bad as them. That turns yourself into a sex offender. If you sexually assault a sex offender, that makes you one too. So you're not any better.
Officer Moore and I got in the Daремobile. This was 11 o'clock in the afternoon. He drove me home. I wasn't sure if anyone was going to be home, if he was going to take me up into my room and rape me, what the next thing was going to be. I was pretty happy to see that my dad was home, that it wasn't going to be just me and Officer Moore alone in the house.
I didn't have much encounters with him after that. It's pretty fucked up how he shot James Levier. I don't remember that story when it happened, but I've followed along since. I've known Officer Moore growing up, and I know what a perverted criminal he is.
Moore sent me messages. Now this man that shot this other man on this tragic day in the year of whatever day it was, he messaged me and accused me of saying that he killed somebody unjustly. But I never said anything about it. I never accused him of doing anything to anybody. But he seemed like he was paranoid about it because he was accusing me of slandering him and saying he killed somebody unjustly, which I never did. And he said the guy needed to be shot and I'm okay with it. That's what he said. I to this day have the screenshot of it. Him saying that the guy needed to be shot and that he's okay, he's fine with it. And then about a month or two later, the FBI shows up at my work and they tell me to leave Officer Moore alone. They say they accuse me of harassing him about shooting someone or something, or and they told me no longer to speak to him. But I wasn't harassing him about anybody. He brought it up himself. He told me the guy needed to be shot and that he's okay with it. And if he's okay with it, why is he sending the FBI to my work? Why is he going to the police if he's okay with it? He's obviously not okay with it. He obviously shot the guy on purpose, which he's admitted several times.
Yeah, Borders showed me the screenshots the other day. Officer Moore was proud of killing James Levier. I think it's time we bring Officer Moore down. It's justice long overdue. He's a fuck up like his son who failed out of the Navy, whatever. He ended up being a dare officer because he shot a deaf guy who was just trying to get some justice for being molested. Officer Baldhead, if you're watching this, just know you poked the bear, you motherfucker.
Hey, Officer Moore, you'll pay for what you've done. I'll make sure justice is served when all is said and done.